Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another episode of the Pineapple Podcast. Remember to hit the like and subscribe button as we're growing our base. Today, we have an amazing guest today with us, Alfonso Kudra. And I just want to draw your attention. This man has been in the multifamily space for a long time. But apart from that, he's also a big person in our community with giving back. He's an author, he's an international speaker, he runs his own foundation helping youth develop themselves from literally like where do I go to building a financial future in their 20s. This man needs no introduction, but please welcome Alfonso Kudra. Thank you very much. Welcome, Alfonso.
Woo! Okay, pineapple. Is it the Pineapple Podcast?
The Pineapple Podcast.
I need to know why did you name it the Pineapple Podcast? Because it's an interesting name. It's an interesting name.
It's all about being tough on the outside and being sweet on the inside.
I love it.
And when
I love that. I love that.
Good. Yeah, when we were playing with it, it was almost like, well, it says nothing really, so therefore it leaves us open to talk about different topics and different ventures and whatever we can do. But from a heritage perspective, and when you look at different cultures, it actually works well for them because again, it's a revered fruit, you know. But like I said, I like the idea that you're tough on the outside and sweet on the inside, which is actually very much like yourself.
Well, I think I'm silly on the inside. my daughter, which is 27 today, she said to me one time when she was like 7 or 8, she's like, "Dad, you're silly. Don't change."
That is beautiful. And well,
so
thank you
I never
so
changed.
much.
I never changed.
Well, this is a special day for us then. You're giving us such a beautiful time. So, you know, on behalf of all of us at the Pineapple Podcast, wishing your daughter a very happy, beautiful, and wonderful birthday.
No, it's really incredible, this journey here, and to see people like you, putting out so much content in real estate and doing a podcast and seeing so many people in their creative minds come together. When I started in real estate, no, there was nowhere to get the information. There was nowhere where you can go and plug in and just listen to hours and hours and hours and hours of real estate content. When I started, it was kind of this mystical thing that only the really ultra wealthy did. And I remember, being like 11 or 12 years old, and I was walking with my friends, and we were walking by some buildings, and I was like, someone owns these buildings, guys. Like someone has figured it out. All of these, and I started doing the math. I'm like, I started counting how many units, and I'm like, someone pays an individual or a family or a company all of this money. Someone figured it out. And then my friend said, "Nah, that's for rich people."
Wow.
And so we separated ourselves. We put this like mystical, we put it like so far into the future. We created this ideology of like unattainable, right? This thing is so unattainable. It's like,
very true.
And because there was no information, no one was talking about it. And so just to see you and this platform that you've created, Mitch, is just incredible. So I'm happy to be here, my friend. Thank you for having me. And I won't let your audience down. I'm going to tell you something right now. So what did you say? We have 2 hours?
We have as much time as you would love to have.
Well, we're not going to put a time clock on it, but this is what I'll tell you. In this podcast, your audience will get something of extreme value. I will bring tangibles and actionable steps that they can take and apply to their life right away. And so, you want to make sure that if you're listening to the Pineapple Podcast right now, first of all, make sure to subscribe right away. Make sure to like and hit the notification, because I know that you're going to be bringing amazing guests, because we had a talk before we hit the record button, and I know you're passionate about growing your community. So sit down, get your popcorn ready, because we're gonna have a good time.
Beautiful, wonderful. Looking forward to it. Let's get rolling, Alfonso.
So you tell me, you tell me kind of how
Good.
you want to start this.
Absolutely. So, Alfonso, the one thing is we always look at the leaders within the real estate space, within the coaching, the mindset space, and we accelerate and we grab all that information. But I think a lot of people in this journey, especially at this level, they're still trying to figure out, well, exactly what do I do? How do I do that? And I know you had a story before you, like you said, 11, 12, you figured out somebody owns it, but then you pulled away because the conversation just wasn't there. And you're right, this level of information today was not available. My wife and I, we started 20 years ago and was the same thing,
Yeah.
scrambling to just get knowledge. And then today is a different story. But I just like to probably throw back a little bit about what shifted you into coming into the real estate space, finding yourself, and now pushing yourself become the best you or the best version of you.
Well, I'll go back. I'll go back to the beginning.
Okay.
So, immigrant, actually came here as a refugee from El Salvador, war-torn El Salvador. Before the age
Mhm.
of 9, I was in 2 wars.
Wow.
Um, I didn't go to school like regular kids. When you are in a country that's at war, at civil war,
Yes.
we were going through civil war. You don't go to school like regular kids, and in fact, um, I had missed a lot of educational opportunities. By the time I came to Canada, I came here as a refugee. I was 9 years old, and I had a really tough time integrating into the education system here.
Right.
First of all, the you know I was missing. There was some gaps in my learning, which was fine, but also they never taught anything that I was interested in. Like, I have a very different learning style, and I was always bored at school, and this is why I'm so passionate about inspiring younger people,
Mm,
because I was one of those young people that was just uninspired in school. I just thought that, what, there's nothing for me here.
right.
And for me, especially, being an immigrant, and being a refugee, uh, single mom. My dad had left during the war. The only people that I can connect with were people from my neighborhood, right? And we
Right.
were living in a very uh, um, um, low uh, economical area,
Right.
right in, well, first of all in Vancouver, and then later we moved to Ontario. But sometimes you connect with these young people, and you're on the streets, and you're up to no good.
Yeah.
I ended up being influenced by a lot of the negativity that was happening in my life at the time, ultimately dropping out of high school and leaving home. Now,
Wow.
I was 15 years old, okay,
Hmm.
when I left home, and so now I'm 15 years old, completely on my own. um at that time, you would look to your friends to support you, but they don't have, they're not they don't have all their life together, at that point either. And so for me, it was just like, at my lowest point was living on the
Right.
streets. And
Wow.
so when I was 15, I slept on the streets. I panhandled for change. I was on drugs, and I was in a very, very dark place. But Mitch, we've all been there. I mean, your question was, how does someone get ahead? We've all been in a dark place, and some
Yes.
some may be worse than others, but it feels the same to everyone, right? We've all hit that place where we've said to ourselves, like, why me?
And
And
yeah, and just to build on that too, because I realize that too, a lot of people put that piece of their life, they hide it because to embrace that or revisit that is very difficult from a personal level. So the fact that
well,
you're
they haven't
sharing
worked through
this,
it, right? They haven't
that's
worked
right.
through it. Yeah,
Exactly. So it's hidden. It doesn't allow them freedom to move ahead to the next phase.
yeah.
So you're
The way
sharing that is incredible.
the way I look at it is, those were very formative years for me,
Yep.
and a lot of things that I learned on, like, living on the streets. There's a lot of things I learned about myself, and
Yes.
at 15 years old, I had zero confidence in myself. I had zero confidence. I had zero self-worth. Um, I didn't think I was capable of anything. I hadn't like I was living way, 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 way beneath my potential. You know,
Right.
someone would, if someone would have tapped me on the shoulder and say, Alfonso, one day you're going to be in a position to inspire thousands of people, change thousands of people's lives, I would say you're crazy, right?
Right.
And and like for me, a very long time ago, I went from, thinking about what I wanted in my life to shifting my mindset to how I was going to use my life in order to inspire others to live their lives to the highest capacity. And so
Beautiful.
my story, because I am telling that story from a position of strength and a position of being a survivor, not a
Yes.
not a victim of the circumstance, then that story can empower a lot of people, because we've all been in a very dark place. We've all been in a situation where we said to ourselves, like, why me?
Yeah.
And it's like you can't understand why you're in that situation.
That's
And
right.
so for me, what happened, I had a life-changing moment. When I was 17, I became a
Mhm.
father for the very first time.
Wow. Okay.
And oh, hold on, I have it right here. I'll show you this picture here.
Hmm. Oh my goodness.
This is called
Beautiful.
a
Oh
baby
my,
having a
a
baby.
baby. That's right. Baby having a baby.
This
So
is
much blessings
yes. So her name is Talia.
to Leah. Beautiful name.
In September, she turns 27.
Ah,
Right. So
okay.
that's who I was talking about. But
Right.
change my life.
Hmm.
At that point, before she was born, I didn't care about anything. I didn't have any responsibilities.
Right.
Even though my life was in shambles, it didn't matter because I didn't see the consequences of my actions. I had, everyone was at fault for my life, and
Right.
everyone would just change. I'd be okay, right?
Yep. Yep. That's it. Everybody else
But
was bad and it was everybody
yes,
else's fault.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and so what this little girl did for me is that it got me to get out of myself, and now I have to think about another human being.
Yes.
Mitch, we are
Hmm.
not promoting for people to have kids in order to find themselves
That's right.
or find purpose, right?
That's right.
But the truth is, you should find a purpose. You should
Yes.
find a purpose, something that is meaningful to you, that you can attach to, that is going to make you move forward in a really fast way. You know, there was a study by Inc. magazine that they studied about hundreds and hundreds of successful people, and they asked them a very simple question. They said, what are the traits that you can attribute to your success? And people said multiple different things, but the majority of them said the number one trait was determination. And
Yes.
being determined means that you're willing to do what you have to do when you have to do it, no questions asked, right?
Yes.
So being determined means like you are going for it. You cannot be stopped. Someone that is determined cannot be stopped. That determination comes from having a strong enough why, having a purpose. Because if your
Mhm.
purpose is powerful enough, you are going to be determined and no one can stop you. No one. And so that first step, that anybody, it doesn't matter what age you're 50, you're 60, you're
That.
14, you're
Yep.
50.
That's
The
right.
second you set a goal and you say, I want this, I want to have this lifestyle, I want to do this. The second question should be why? Why is attaining this goal important to me? Because if you can't determine the why, you will never be determined enough to keep moving forward no matter what. And as you know, Mitch, in real estate, there's a lot of people that are going to say no. there are a lot of people in your way, a lot of mortgage brokers that are going to say you're never going to get a loan. Everyone's against you. And so what's that one driving force? It has to be a strong enough why. Because
Yes.
if your why is strong enough,
Yep.
right? No
Yes.
matter how hard it gets in business, you need to stop and remember why you started. And so for me, at that point, I changed my entire life. Right? I went back to school. I got a job, but realized that, $5 an hour, that's how much, that was the minimum wage back then. $5 an hour wasn't going to cut it. And so I started a small business out of my
Yes.
locker in high school. I was
Yeah.
selling mixtapes, and I was selling mixtapes and jeans and t-shirts that I
Oh,
bought on Young Street. Okay.
yeah.
And what
Yeah.
I quickly realized is the power of profits. And
Yes.
so I bought a pair of jeans on Young Street for $20 that I went back to sell in my high school in Ottawa for $60, making a $40 profit. And so I knew at that time that I
Yes.
was going to pursue profits for the rest of my life. And that's what I did. I graduated at 19. I started a clothing store.
Yeah.
And that clothing store, by the time I was 21, I had locations all across Canada. I was manufacturing my own brands and products in Asia, my own brands, and I was distributing those brands across Canada. And I was a multimillionaire at 21. Now,
Unbelievable.
if I just stopped there, that the story would be sweet, right?
Yes, that
That
is
would be
true.
a sweet.
That
That
is
would
true.
be that would be a sweet story.
You
Unfortunately,
yeah, I want to frame that a little bit. So it means
yeah,
that
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
at that age, you've arrived. Like, in anybody else's mind, like that is a huge accomplishment. But what I love is that only gave you inspiration to go further, right? So I love this
Yes.
story now. So I'm actually really excited to hear the next phase now.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I grew up poor all my life. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, my family never had money. Okay.
Right.
I always had to figure things out, and what drove me inside was just a need and want things, right?
Yes.
And I'll give you a perfect example. When I was 12, I wanted MJs, Michael Jordans.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the second I told my mom the price, she said, "Forget about it. You're crazy." Right. And so
Right.
because I wanted these MJs so bad, my creative mind started to actually take over, and I figured out ways how to get the money to buy MJs. Now we're talking about 2000, 1990, 91, and $200, whatever it was, I can't remember, but that's a lot of money. But I figured it out, right? Now
Absolutely.
the problem, even though I was a very creative person, I had no financial education. My mom, I love her to death, taught me a lot of good things about being a man, respecting women, integrity, all the good values that my mom taught me, but she couldn't teach me any financial literacy because she wasn't financially literate. She couldn't
Absolutely.
teach me about being an entrepreneur because she was not an entrepreneur. She
That's
couldn't
right.
teach me about running my own business. She couldn't teach me all of these things that I had to learn the hard way. And so at 21, making all of this money without having the financial, background, basically, I was very much a consumer because all I knew about successful people is that they had things. And so,
Right.
so I pursued things. I pursued
Yes.
shiny things.
Yes.
And you can only imagine, Mitch, if you can go back to be 21 years old and someone, all of a sudden handed you all this kinds of money, what would you do with it? You would
Oh,
probably spend it all, right?
that's
Because
it.
you're
It's
you're
a
just not
checkbook
you're
now.
just
Yeah.
not ready.
That's it. And the girls. So,
So that was me at 21. I would spend it on
mm,
cars, jewelry, dumb
right.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was not financially literate. I didn't know about putting money away for a rainy day or having reserves available
Right.
in case the business
Yeah.
takes
Yeah.
a downturn. And that's
Absolutely.
exactly what happened to me. after 9/11,
Yeah.
so 2001, 9/11, the consumers' habits changed.
Right.
Then got mixed in with competition, the internet, China, all of these factors that I wasn't ready or prepared for. And then my business started to take a dive. And so now I'm 24 and I'm negative $1 million, right?
Oh my God.
And
Yeah.
so I'm on the verge of
Yeah.
going bankrupt. I'm on a verge of losing everything,
Wow.
right? So,
Right.
I had all these stores across Canada. Some stores, some employees were quitting, some stores were closing, and
Right.
it was in really rough shape.
Yeah.
And my accountant even said you should go bankrupt. And I said, well, like what am I going to do with my life, really? And so
Right.
instead of going bankrupt, I
Hmm.
decided that I was going to fight, but I also wanted to educate myself. I said, I need to know about business. I'm obviously not a business person, right? And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
you know, where I was in my life at 21 is the equivalent of an artist or a
Right.
singer or someone that plays for the NBA that has a skill that can produce a lot of money, but
Right.
they're not financially savvy with their money. They're not investors because I was
Right.
very much a consumer. And
Yeah.
so I picked up this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad,
Yes. Yes.
and I started reading, and I started to realize why I was in that position. And I said to myself, I will never be in this position again. I'm going to educate myself on being wealthy. I'm going to educate myself on running businesses, and I will never put my family in this position ever again. And so what I realized after, that Rich Dad Poor Dad,
Yeah.
Thinking Rich, those are some of my first books. Mitch, never read a book in my entire high school career. I was the kind of I
Oh,
was the kind of guy that would read the
yeah.
back, like
Yes.
get 51% on the test, and that's was good. But
You just got there, so that's good, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but um, after those few books, I became addicted to reading and educating myself. And I
Beautiful.
realized I didn't have a problem with reading. I just didn't like reading things that I wasn't interested in.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
so, once I started reading biographies on wealthy people and, entrepreneurs, and I started to realize, wait a minute, I was living a consumer, and I had the consumer mindset. I
Right.
needed to shift to becoming an investor and having that investor mindset. I needed to invest my money. I needed to have my money work for me instead of work for my money. I
Yes.
needed to I needed to invest in real estate because the common thread amongst all the wealthiest people in the world is that they invested in real estate. Number one, they needed to have multiple streams of income. I only had one. And I realized how
Mm.
vulnerable I was. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go back and build my business, but I'm going to invest into real estate. I'm going to create a secondary stream of income that's indestructible, Armageddon proof. And so
Right.
when I looked at all the different asset classes, I realized that all of these wealthy people, no one talks about their triplex or their duplex. They're all talking about real commercial
Yes.
properties. And so
Right.
I started in the multifamily right away, right?
Wow.
And even was with repositioning. And
Mhm.
I realized, my one of my first deals was a duplex that I converted into a triplex
Yeah.
roughly about 23 years ago. And
Right.
then and then my second deal was a 7-unit apartment building, then a
Yeah.
10-unit, and I started to scale up right away. There's a
Yeah.
few things that I loved about the multifamily.
Yeah.
Was the economy of scale.
Right.
That made a
Yes.
lot of sense to me because I was a business owner. Imagine opening a business with only one customer. It wouldn't work.
It doesn't work.
Number two is because I had already my business, I needed to create a secondary stream of income where it wasn't as risky as my business.
Right.
And like the idea that with
Mhm.
multiple units, you can spread the risk.
Yes.
And
Quite
and then
true.
lastly, Mitch,
Yeah.
because I was a business owner and because I was in financial trouble, my credit and I was self-employed really, and my credit had been bruised. So
Right.
what I realized is with commercial mortgages, it was a lot easier, right,
That's it.
get financing, because the financing is mostly about the asset itself and
That's right.
the profitability of the asset.
Yes, because you're
So
buying a business.
that's it.
Yeah.
And so by the time 2008 came,
Yeah.
I was like, I had reduced my cost of living and I just invested. I turned my business around and it was incredible. And I just went crazy. I was able to take advantage of all the opportunities at that time. So by the time I turned 30 years old, Mitch, I
Yeah.
was financially free.
Oh, hold on.
And
So let's bring that in. I don't want my viewers to miss this. This is what the entrepreneurial spirit truly is. Like you're at your highs, you drop to your lows, but all it does is it just puts fire. It just fuels you up to find resolutions, find solutions. And look, you've actually demonstrated to us. A lot of us are trying to figure out what's the right strategy, what's the best way to go. This is the model. Do a bit of research into the different strategies, and
yeah,
you'll find something that really aligns to you and your values, which is exactly what it did. You realize I'm doing the business with the retail. Now I'm just going to do business with multifamily
yeah,
because, to your point, the banks really don't care about your credit. They don't care about your financials. They want to know that the business you're buying can run itself. Now you have to run that business effectively, which is a different story. But so at 30 years, you've been able to really push yourself and to really redefine your business model so that now you're at a point where you could, at this point at 30, say, hey, I'm good. I have it nice. I can take care of my
yeah.
family. But I don't think that was enough for you
I
either.
sold I sold the like the clothing company. I was able to
Ah,
sell it that time. It was in like a business that was at the brink of bankruptcy. I was able
right.
to rebuild it to a point where, I got a nice check, you know,
Beautiful.
and then I realized that, what, I wanted to like I was financially free. I didn't have to work a day in my life because I have my real estate
Right.
investments coming in more than covers the my life. And so I said, you know what? This is it. I'm gonna go on vacation. So I went to the Dominican Republic,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
I took a 2 week vacation. And what I realized on the first day of the second week, that I was miserable. I was like, I was the
Only
only guy moping around the beach, like, oh, what am I
that,
gonna do now, right?
that's
And
right. Your engine is chilling and you're not
yeah,
doing anything. It's like disconnected, right?
yeah. And I realized that I didn't want to do that, right?
Good.
Because I was working so hard,
Yeah.
and the end goal was financial freedom, right? And then I got it, and then I was like, okay, what am I gonna do with my life? And then
Right.
and then I realized that I wanted to live a life of fulfillment,
Ah, yes.
and
This
I
this is
wanted,
this is important. Like
yeah,
that line alone is worth so much. And I want people to really understand fulfillment is very different from financial freedom, right? And fulfillment
absolutely.
really drives and inspires people.
Well, I'm willing to bet that everyone and some people that are watching you already are financially free,
Yes.
and they're already pursuing the life of fulfillment. Some people have really great careers and they feel fulfilled, right? Like someone that has always wanted to be a surgeon, and they're a surgeon and they get
Yep.
to save lives. These
Yes.
hands save lives. They're gonna feel fulfilled, right?
Yes.
So I don't want anybody to confuse this conversation by thinking that you have to leave your job to feel fulfilled, right? Because
Absolutely.
if you have a career and you're passionate about something, you're gonna feel fulfilled. But
Yes.
I'm willing to bet that there's another part of the population that fantasizes about what that life would look like if they were financially free. And so
That's it.
I want to talk to those people specifically, because when I was, in my 20s, I was working 9 to 9, and then 9:01 to like 1 in the morning, I was working on my real estate. I was working all the time,
Right.
and I had this fantasy that I would sit on the beach for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And so when that day
Mhm.
came, I
Mhm.
realized that that's not what I wanted at all.
Right.
I
Good.
wanted to live a life of fulfillment. And what hit me on the beach that day is that
Mhm.
I want to help as many people as possible get to that point where
Yes.
they realize that whatever it is they thought they wanted,
Yeah.
it's not
Yes.
even it. And actually now they're forced to think about what they can contribute to society. And
Yes.
so at that point, I decided to become a freedom fighter, a financial freedom fighter, and help
Beautiful.
people achieve financial freedom. And because I achieved financial freedom through real estate, I decided that that's what I was going to do. I was going to spend the rest of my life
Mhm.
teaching people, helping people get to that point, because I know that if I can bring as many people to that financial freedom point as possible,
Right.
they're not going to sit on a beach for the rest of their life. They're
That's
going to
it.
do amazing things with their churches, with their communities, with their families. That's what time is all about. Time is about
Absolutely.
doing something amazing with that
Yes.
time. And some may sit on the beach for the rest of their life, but that's okay too.
That's okay. Yeah, you're right. That's okay. If that gives them the sense of satisfaction and fulfillment, then so
It's
be
great.
it. Because helping people when you love it, it's like it energizes you. The more you talk, it's like 24 hours is not enough. I'm happy to help, happy to connect, happy to talk to people. Because
Yes.
when you give, I think you get back in energy too, right? At least I find
You
that
get
for me.
I
Yeah.
get fueled. I get energy from people, right?
Yes,
I feed off
absolutely.
it.
That's right. That's right. And
Yeah.
I share that because I'm in the same space when I coach or I help people and I see their success and you see their face light up and their voice change. It's like,
Yes.
you know what? I was a part of that, man. Like, how cool is that, right?
Yes.
But if it's
Yes.
a fire, if it's a passion to give back, and I also want to say thank you because if you did not take that 2 week vacation and realize that inside of you is the inspiration you're going after, I think that makes the difference. So
Yeah.
that's to me, that's huge. That's huge. So now you've been in this space for quite some time as well, helping a lot of people.
15 years now.
Wow, 15 years. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
So this is why they call me the godfather of real estate, because I'm old. I think I was on a podcast or something, and the person that was doing the interview was like, "Oh, I know this person. He was your student, and I know this person. His real estate started with you, and like all of these people's journey started with me." And then she said, "You're like the godfather of real estate," and I was like, "I don't know." And then other people started saying it, and I
Yeah.
leaned into it a little
Well,
bit. You know what I mean? Because I thought it was a nice, catchy name.
well, I think I like it. I can see why. I've also had the privilege of having quite a few people here at the Pineapple Podcast that has also had their lives touched by yourself in terms of the vision where they can take their business to. And
I appreciate it.
I gotta tell you though that in talking with them, that's why I love this conversation we're having today. Like they're not small-minded anymore. They've really released their inner being and they've released their thought process to really go beyond what people would normally think. Like you said, back in the early days, your friend said, hey, those are for rich people. And even
Yeah,
now, when you talk about multifamily, 5 units, 6 units, that's a big deal. But you realize that there's bigger opportunities if you can scale in the right way, educate, learn, surround yourself with the right people, and then let yourself explode, right?
yeah. It's
So,
it, it's really about expansion. And
yes,
if you see my story, like, if we had more time, I'd tell you more stories about
yes,
how I expanded and had to get very uncomfortable,
mhm,
because we talk about fulfillment, right?
yes,
So here's the key to fulfillment. Number one, you have to take risks. because if you don't take risks in life, you
Right.
can't. And if you're not growing, you're dying, right? You
Yes.
cannot expand and contract at the same time, right? It's either
That's
you're
right.
expanding or you're contracting. It's either you're growing or you're dying, just like a plant, right?
Right.
And so you got to take risks, and that expansion allows you to grow. And if you grow, when you have growth, this is when you have fulfillment.
Yes.
Life fulfillment comes from growing and expanding. And
Hmm.
so that life fulfillment, and if you can't have life fulfillment, you can't be happy. And if you can't be happy, what are we doing, Mitch?
That's right.
What's
Yeah.
the point? What
That's
is
right.
the point? What is the point? And so it all
Exactly.
comes from that expansion. When you allow yourself
Mm.
to expand, most people tend to operate based on what they think is possible. They're
Yes.
operating way beneath their potential. And so my
Mm.
specialty in this is helping people just expand, allowing their mind to expand, because we get anchored to certain numbers. I'm going to give you an example.
Please.
Do you remember during COVID-19 how cheap the gas was?
Yes.
What was the cheapest you ever saw it?
Went down to below $1 a liter.
Like it was like how much?
I think it was like 89 cents was the lowest I saw it around there.
I thought it was in the 70s, but it was okay.
Right.
So everyone's get excited. And by the way, that's good news. You cheap gas, but no one had anywhere to go.
That's right. I love that example. Yes.
Yeah, but then it went to $1, and then everybody's like, oh, $1, and then it went to 120, 130, 140, and it started climbing. And then someone said, do you know that one day it might go up to $2? And everyone said, no way. And then that day came, as you know, Mitch, that day
Yes.
came,
That
and it
day
continued
came.
to climb. Do you remember what was the height of that gas price?
Oh my God. The height on that, I think I was paying something like 276 or 278
It
a
was
liter.
disgusting.
That was brutal.
And then one day it dropped back to 190 or 195. And
That's
everyone
right.
said, so cheap,
Yeah, that's right.
right? It's
Perspective.
because the human
Yeah.
mind becomes
Yes.
anchored to numbers. So when we go out and invest into real estate, we're operating based on what we think we can accomplish. And so we look at the deals that we think we're capable of executing on. And by the way, what's our limit? There is no limit. And so the problem is that we limit ourselves. And so we get anchored to certain numbers like 700,000, 800,000, 900,000, $1
Right.
million or whatever. That's
Right.
our anchoring in our mind. When
Yes.
someone says 10 million, no, because our mind it hasn't adjusted, right?
That's right.
And
That's
so
right.
what I do is I help people expand. It's like an elastic band. When you expand and you can, because you are going to contract it sometimes. You know,
Yes.
you're going to expand and contract. But when you contract, your elastic band is bigger than it was when it
Yes.
started, right? And
That's right.
so you
Love that.
expand and you contract. You
That's
expand
right.
and you contract. You expand and you contract. But guess what? You're here.
Yeah.
And this expansion, it's about giving yourself the permission to
Mhm.
just go and look at a $10 million deal. Go and look at $100 million deal. Look at a $500 million deal, because what's going to happen is your mind will expand to the point where you start to think and imagine what this would look like and what would be the pieces that you need. And now go back and look at your $1 million deal and you're like, whoa,
There's some differences here.
yeah, right. And
Yeah.
it's like that Olympic they throw that big ball in the
Yes.
Olympics.
Yeah. Yep.
Do they practice with the same size ball, or do they practice with a bigger ball?
That's right. They got to use the
Right.
bigger ball. Yeah.
That's it. So when they get to the main event and they have the regular ball, it's like, oh, this is light, right? And so
Yes.
that's the idea of expansion, allowing yourself to level up, right? And I always
Absolutely.
tell people, look, just as long as you are consistently growing, you don't have to buy 1,000 units in the next year. But if you're looking at a duplex, hey, why not look at a fourplex? If you're looking at a fourplex, hey, why not look at an eightplex? If you're looking at an eightplex, hey, why not look at a 20plex or a 30plex?
Right.
Right. And so this is expansion. And once people start, they realize that they are capable. They do have what it takes to make that happen. And by the
Absolutely.
way, it's not that hard. It's actually easier than, looking at the ones and twosies, right? And so
Yeah.
that's a big part of my philosophy
Right.
and how I've trained people over the years.
Mhm. Absolutely. I love that. I mean, and I really want to unpack that a little bit because you're right. If nothing else, by looking at the deals that you think is beyond you, you learn. You're learning in the best way. You're dealing with it in reality. So now you're getting an understanding that nobody else can give you, right? And so that,
Absolutely.
yeah, and that is going to just broaden your own horizon. It's going to give you the ability to say, you know what, it actually is doable, right? It's a nice analogy you use because I know there was one story around the salesman as well, selling these luxury Mercedes Benz. It's like, they weren't getting the sales, and they came up with this concept. They're going to take the cars out to the offices in the local area and let people test drive it. When you sit down in a luxury car and you test drive that, do you really want to go back to the old car that you have in the driveway?
Yeah.
Your body and the experience just opens up. So
Mitch.
now flip this into real estate, right? This is what you're giving us. And thank you
Yeah.
so much
Well,
for flipping it that
well,
way.
look at this, Mitch.
Yes,
The average person doesn't even think they have the right to go and test drive a Mercedes Benz. They
absolutely.
won't give themselves the permission,
That's right.
right? But when you actually go to the Mercedes Benz dealership, you realize it's the same price. It's just a little bit more than, if you go to like a starter level, like a C-class Mercedes,
Yes,
it's actually cheaper than you're buying like a Ford or whatever. It's just a
absolutely.
mindset. It's just a mindset when people just don't give themselves the permission to even go into the dealership because they're like, oh, I
Yeah.
have no business going there, right?
That's right.
And so
That,
that's kind of the part of the expansion, just allowing your mind to expand to
yes.
what's possible, because what's possible, anything is possible. And if all of us could just tap into just a little bit more of our potential, it would be like a renaissance on earth.
Absolutely will be. I mean, this is brilliant, and I love the way your analogy works that way because even on a personal experience, like, you know, the Mercedes Benz, I use the example, but I also like that. But the reason why is because for me, it was a milestone because I also had that mindset where I felt that was the rich people, that was outside of our realm. And then because of real estate, my wife and I basically said, let's just get this. We want it.
Yeah.
Real estate is doing magical things for us, and we made it happen. And the fulfillment is, I look at it and it's a milestone. It's not a piece to say I'm showing off or whatever. It's just a milestone to know that I've measured myself against something that I thought was beyond my reach. It's now in my reach. And it's the same thing with the multi unit apartments. If you open up to it, it becomes in your reach because you've sort of aroused your mind to it, right? And I think that's what you're doing. So thank you for sharing that because that just kind of explodes somebody's minds to realize really there are no limitations. And I think you've captured that in your
There's
15
no
years.
there's
You've
no
really,
limits.
yeah, you really refined it to the point that there really is no limits. The limitations is what we put on ourselves. And also, there's so much people around us now that are willing to share in communities like this, where you can learn, where you get information that before it was never there. And I must compliment you too, because there's a mindset that says, you're competing with me, I'm not going to share my secrets. In your case, you're saying, there's so much, there's plenitude in terms of how we think, that there's more than enough for all of us to continue to grow. And how cool an
Uh,
environment that could be, or community that could be, where we're all helping each other rise and grow. Because let's face it, real estate is worth trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars globally. No
there,
one man can buy.
right now on my YouTube channel, I have
Yes.
967 videos for free, right? For free
Yes.
content
Yes.
that people can go. And not only that, there are thousands of people putting out content, and the information is out there for everyone to connect to, resonate with, and take action. The problem is, you know, and I can only speak from my experience, okay?
Yes.
Because I come from Latin America,
Right.
and in Latin America, in my mom, her emphasis was, you have to get an education, because that's the only
Right.
way you're ever going to do anything in your life, is to get a post-secondary degree. And
Yeah.
that was a big that was huge for her and what she understood back home.
Yes.
And so back home, when people, and it's not unusual because there's so much corruption, but when people have money, it's often looked like they did something, or they were crooked in some way, or they stole something, or because
Yes.
that's there's a lot of corruption back home.
Right.
And so for me coming here as an immigrant, my mom was so against money. Like, she was more like, you have to get an education, but money's bad. And so
Yes.
the very first thing that people need to do is to take inventory on their relationship with money. And for
Absolutely.
me, if you see the very first money that I had to give it away. It was almost like I was 21 and made money, I had to give it away, is because I had a very unhealthy relationship with money and finances,
Ah,
right?
right.
And a lot of households, that's how, people don't have that financial freedom education. I didn't have any of that financial freedom education growing up. And that's a big part of what drives me. It's like, I want to teach as many people as possible, but I also want to go back and get the young people involved in finances, businesses, real estate, because a huge impact that I can have on younger people, because they are our future. They are
Yes.
our future leaders, right?
That's
And
it.
someone like me, I grew up with no confidence, zero confidence,
Right.
no self-worth. I didn't believe in myself, Mitch. I was operating beneath, beneath the what I was capable of.
Right.
And I remember when I was 17, because I had gotten into so much trouble when I was 15. And when I made that transition into changing my life, I still had some demons that were chasing me,
Right.
from my past life.
Yes. Yes.
And I had a court case, and
Okay.
nothing really crazy, but it would affect my life. If I would have a charge, if I would ever, live and
Yes.
have a charge. My first business, my retail store, I had to go to the US. I would not even be able to cross the border if I had a charge under my name.
That's right.
Now, when I lived in Vancouver and I was an immigrant, brand new immigrant, I met a man, and that man stayed in touch with me. And he was like a big brother, but he wasn't part of an organization. It was just someone that kind of cared for me, and saw that I was like a young immigrant kid, and with no father and no
Right.
brothers or sisters, and he just wanted to step in and play that role. He didn't
Right.
do it for recognition or anything. He was just like a really good kinded person. And when we moved to Ottawa, and he always stayed in touch. But when I'm changing my life over, and I'm trying to, I'm a father at this time. I got my business. I'm going to school full time. I'm trying to get my life together, but I had this one thing that was chasing me from when I was 15 years old.
Right.
So he came over to my house and he said, "Okay, do you have a suit?"
Ah.
And I said, "No, I don't have a suit. Why would I need a suit?" He said, "Well, you should show respect for the court. If you're gonna
Right.
go to a court, you show respect for the judge. The judge is gonna take you seriously.
Right.
But I realized that I was 17 years old, Mitch, and I had never worn a suit a day in my life, ever. Right?
Right.
I've never been in a position where I didn't own a suit.
Right.
And he said, "Let's go get you a suit."
Wow.
And so we went to the secondhand store,
Yeah.
and there was all these suits on the rack. I didn't even know my size, Mitch. I don't even know, like 42,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I grabbed some suits from the rack.
Mhm.
I went into the change room, and I tried one of these suits on.
Yes.
I came out, and I looked at myself in the mirror. And for the very first time in my life, at 17, I saw potential.
Wow.
I saw all the things
Yes.
that I could be. I saw
Beautiful.
how much I was devaluating my life.
Mhm.
And I saw it was almost like a movie of 1,000 scenes of
Yeah.
everything that could happen in my life.
Right.
I was messing it up, right? I also saw my mom and all her struggles and sacrifices, and
Mhm.
I was messing it up. She brought me to this country, and I was messing it up. And I
Right.
remember, with the suit, right? This used suit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for the very first time in my life, I saw potential.
Mhm.
That's why you always see me with a blazer. It's like
Yeah.
I feel like it's my superpower.
That's
It's
your signature. Yeah.
it's like my cape.
Love it.
And
Love it.
you know, the reason I share that story is because
Mhm.
I want everyone to think about, how are you operating? Are you operating? Have you fully tapped into your full potential? And I'm willing to bet everyone watching this program right now is operating way beneath what they're capable of. And so what I've come here to share, and I've come here to invite people to do, is to start getting extremely uncomfortable and start operating outside of that comfort zone, and you'll see exactly what you're capable of.
Absolutely. That is huge because you're hitting, it's amazing the insights you're bringing to us because this is exactly where people are. They can't seem to find themselves, and so they're discounting themselves and discounting their experiences in life and just focusing on, well, I want something and I'm not getting it, so I'm not feeling alive, right?
Yeah.
Whereas you got to look back and say, look at the things I've accomplished. That's
Yeah.
the fuel to say, okay, let me propel more, let me get more, let me be more uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and you've demonstrated that beyond belief, and congratulations to you. And it's funny though, but early in your life, even though you were going through your struggles, you had angels around you, and you
I
you
think so.
embrace their advice, you have embraced the knowledge, and I want people to realize that in today's world, there's so many angels around all of us, with so many people stepping up and putting themselves out. To give of yourself to help people is not something that people take lightly when they get into the space. So they really genuinely want to help you, and take it, run with it, because you know what? If you can better yourselves, you're going to better the community around you. And that's how we're going to build a beautiful planet with beautiful people around you.
And that's the philosophy. The philosophy is help people achieve financial freedom, not because it'd be fun if everyone had a lot of money. Is because you know when you see your relationship with money, because a lot of people have this unhealthy relationship with money, thinking that it's bad.
That,
But
yeah,
money will only make you more of who you are.
that's right.
And why wouldn't you want more, to be able
Yes.
to create more, to become more, to give more, to inspire more, to do more? Because that's what we were put here on this planet to expand. We were
Yes.
not meant to contract. When we contract, and when we're in this contraction phase, we don't feel good. We're not fulfilled. It's only when we allow ourselves to expand that we can have more, give more, become more, do more, and help other people become more, do more, because the life that you have is an inspiration to other people. So when you start doing, you start shining on other people, giving them permission to do it as well. And so that's been the philosophy of my life. It's like, you know what? I want to do this, because I want to, my life, it's an example to other people, right?
Yes.
And my daughters, I have two daughters. One, you met her name is Talia, 27. She
Yes.
she has now built her own portfolio, real estate portfolio. She has students. And then the next one coming up, her name is Alicia, is 16. But I have to be the example to them. And so, when I talked earlier, I went from what I wanted in my life to how I was going to use my life.
Yes.
So all of the dark moments, Mitch, in
Yeah.
my life, I'm using them to inspire other people to live their lives to the highest capacity.
Absolutely. I mean, that in itself is such a blessing for people listening to this. And I really want people to embrace this, right? Your story inspires people. And thank you for sharing that. It means the world to me.
Thank you.
It means the world to the
Thank you.
viewers here as well.
And we all have a story to tell.
We all have a story to tell. And one day we got to step up and tell that story.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, guys, you've heard it here, right here. Alfonso giving us so much nuggets of information, but more importantly, sharing his personal journey as to where he started to where he is today. And let's use that as inspiration. So, again, folks, right here on the Pineapple Podcast, we are very blessed to have Alfonso here. Alfonso, any last words? I'll quickly mention I'm going to put Alfonso's contact information if you want to get in touch with him. You'll reach him through the comments down below.
Just get uncomfortable and remember, Alfonso loves you, and we're going to see you guys at the top.
At the top. Thank you again, everybody. Have a great, great day. And remember, wishing you great successes in your journey as you go through your real estate journey. Take care.